All right, so we've been getting a lot of questions, a lot of comments about this story. You know the one about Sudiksha Kanaki?
Yeah.
This 20-year-old college student who, well, disappeared during spring break in the Dominican Republic, and it's understandable, right? I mean, it's a story that really grabs you.
Absolutely. A young woman on vacation suddenly vanished. It's a situation that immediately raises so many questions and naturally a lot of concern.
Yeah, and she was last seen near this resort, the Rio Republica Resort in Punta Cana, March 6th in the morning. She was with a group of 5 other students.
And that detail, the fact that she was part of a group, adds another layer to this, doesn't it?
It does. It really does.
Makes you wonder about the dynamics, what the others might have seen or known.
Right. And thinking about that, it also got us looking into these protocols that colleges have, you know, specifically for when a student goes missing.
Oh, interesting. Like pre-planned procedures.
Yeah, exactly. And we found some info on what Muhlenberg College and Lehigh University do. It's fascinating, actually.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it makes you realize, you know, thankfully these situations are rare, but when they do happen, having a system in place can be crucial.
Absolutely. So I guess today what we're really trying to do is connect these two things, right? Sudiksha's story, this very real, very immediate crisis, and then these kind of bigger picture responses, the ways institutions try to prepare for the unexpected.
Yeah, and maybe by looking at both, we can learn something.
Yeah.
About resilience, about support systems, about how communities react when things go wrong, you know, because it's not just about policies, it's about people.
Yeah, it's about people. Okay, so let's start with Sudiksha. I mean, when you hear a story like this, a young person gone missing, it's unsettling.
Right, absolutely. And I think the first thing that comes to mind is the sheer emotional impact. Imagine the family, the friends, the not knowing. It's a level of anxiety and fear that's just incredibly difficult to process.
She was on spring break. It's supposed to be fun, carefree. That contrast, I think, makes it even harder to grasp.
It does. It shatters the illusion of safety, the idea that these things only happen in movies or faraway places. And it underscores the fact that crisis can strike anyone, anywhere, at any time, which is, you know, scary, but also why these protocols, these systems are so important.
Yeah, no, you're right. Okay, so back to Sudiksha. We mentioned she was with 5 other students.
Yeah.
Does that, I don't know, change the way you think about the situation?
It definitely adds a layer of complexity. I mean, from an investigative standpoint, you now have multiple witnesses, different perspectives on what might have happened. There's the group dynamic to consider. Were they always together? Did they split up at some point? Those details could be crucial.
Right, and we've seen reports of, you know, her community coming together, supporting her family. That seems to be a pretty common response in these situations.
It is. And it's more than just symbolism, that kind of communal response. It offers tangible support, you know, helping with searches, raising awareness, providing resources. But it creates this sense of solidarity. It reminds the family that they're not alone in their grief, their fear, and that shared hope, that shared determination, it can be incredibly powerful.
Yeah, and that, I guess, that kind of leads us to the idea of having plans, of having systems in place beforehand, you know, for when things like this happen, because it can be so chaotic, so overwhelming.
Exactly. When a crisis hits, the last thing you want is confusion. You need clarity, you need a framework for action. So these predefined protocols, they're like a roadmap. They outline who does what, when, and how. It helps to streamline the response, prevent missteps, and ultimately save time, which can be so precious in these situations.
Yeah. So, like, for example, at Muhlenberg College, their policy says if a staff member finds the missing student, they have to, first of all, make sure they're safe, get them back to the school, and then immediately notify the principal or whoever's been designated for that.
Right, and that highlights a core principle here. The student safety is paramount. Everything else, the investigation, the figuring out what happened, that comes second. First, you get them back to a secure environment, and by notifying the principal or whoever it is, you're basically triggering the next steps in the protocol.
Right, and then Muhlenberg's policy also says the dean of students or their designee has to contact the student's emergency contact within 24 hours.
Within 24 hours of them being officially considered missing. Yeah.
In that time frame, it's interesting. It suggests a balance, right, between allowing some initial investigation, trying to locate the student internally, And also recognizing the urgency, the need to keep the family informed.
Right, because that waiting, not knowing, it must be agonizing.
It is, and that open communication, it builds trust. It allows the family to potentially get involved in the search, if appropriate. Lehigh University, their approach is a little different. They have all these different ways to report a missing person. You can call their police directly, use some emergency phones around campus. There's this Hawk Watch system. You can even just walk into the police station.
It's about accessibility, isn't it? Making sure anyone who's concerned can easily raise the alarm.
Yeah. So you're not fumbling around trying to figure out the right number to call or who to contact. You just act.
Exactly. And the faster that happens, the faster the response can begin, which, as we've said, can be absolutely critical. So, we've got these detailed protocols, and then we have Sudiksha's story, and it might seem like they're separate things, but they're both, in a way, about this idea of not giving up.
Yeah. Perseverance. We hear that a lot, but it's easier said than done, right?
It is. But I think what makes it meaningful is the why. Why are we persevering? What are we striving for? And in Sudiksha's case, it's about hope. Hope that she's found safe, hope for answers, hope for resolution. And those college protocols, they're a manifestation of that same principle, but at an institutional level. It's the commitment to not giving up on a missing student, to utilizing every resource available to bring them home.
It's like they're saying, we have a plan and we're going to stick to it. We're not going to just, throw our hands up and say, well, there's nothing we can do.
Exactly. And that same mindset, that same approach, it can be applied to so many challenges we face in life. Think about it. Setbacks at work, difficulties in relationships, health issues. There will always be obstacles, but it's how we choose to respond that defines us.
So if we're trying to, learn from this, from Sudiksha's situation, from these college policies, what can we actually do?
Yeah.
How do we become more resilient?
Well, the first step is recognizing that resilience, it's not about being superhuman. It's not about never struggling or needing help. It's about having the tools, the resources, and the mindset to navigate those challenges effectively.
Okay, so what kind of tools?
Well, for example, the college protocols emphasize having a clear system, knowing who to contact. In our own lives, that translates to building strong support networks. Our family, our friends, our mentors, these are our emergency contacts. They're the people we can lean on when things get tough, who can offer different perspectives, emotional support, practical help. They're our anchors.
Anchors, I like that. And there was also this idea of having a positive mindset.
Yeah. Focusing on our strengths, practicing gratitude. It might sound simple, but it can be incredibly powerful. When we're stuck in a negative spiral, it's easy to lose sight of the good things. But intentionally shifting our focus, reminding ourselves of what we're grateful for, what we've overcome in the past, it can fuel our perseverance. It gives us the energy to keep going.
And then there's this idea of preparing for the unexpected, which, can feel a little daunting.
It can, but the key is it's not about living in fear, it's about being proactive. It's about thinking through potential challenges and having some kind of plan.
Like having a fire extinguisher in your house. You hope you never have to use it, but it's there if you need it.
Exactly. So maybe it's having a financial cushion, maybe it's identifying coping mechanisms for stress, maybe it's exploring alternative career paths. It's about taking control where we can so we're not completely blindsided when things go wrong.
And the last point, it was about seeking help.
Yeah, and this is huge. We often think resilience means doing everything ourselves, but that's just not true. Sometimes the most resilient thing we can do is admit we need help. Just like those missing student protocols where there's this whole system of support, we need to recognize that we're not alone. Whether it's talking to friends, family, or seeking professional help, having that external support can make all the difference.
So yeah, Sudiksha's story, it's heartbreaking, but it reminds us of the power of community, of having systems in place, and of the importance of never giving up hope.
Absolutely. And I think that quote, the one from Nelson Mandela, it always seems impossible until it's done. It really resonates here because it speaks to that human capacity for resilience, for overcoming even the most difficult challenges. And it reminds us that even when things seem bleak, even when we feel lost or overwhelmed, there's always a possibility of a positive outcome.
So to wrap this up, for anyone listening, we've talked about a lot today, support systems, crisis protocols, the power of hope, the importance of resilience. What I really want you to take away is this. We all face challenges, big and small, but we don't have to face them alone. Think about the people in your life, the resources available to you, and the strength that lies within you. And never, ever give up.
Yeah. And on that note, as you reflect on this, I encourage you to think about those support networks we talked about. How can you strengthen them? Who are your emergency contacts? And what's one small step you can take today to cultivate that inner resilience, that ability to face whatever comes your way?
Because it's not about being perfect, it's about being prepared. And knowing that even when things seem impossible, there's always a chance for them to become possible.
Exactly. And that's a powerful thought to hold on to.
Thanks for joining today's chat on Your Daily English Spark. If you enjoyed this session and want to keep improving your English, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. What topic would you like us to cover next? Let me know in the comments. And don't miss our next episode, where we'll dive into mastering small talk. See you next time.